Hello, welcome to Into the Rabbit Hole with me. My name is Nancy, and today I thought that we would do a little bit of a planning video. Because it's something I have to do anyway, and it's a question that I get asked like often enough, like on Instagram. For those of you who don't know, I have a fourth grader and I have a sixth grader, and we homeschool year round. So technically, we're kind of already transitioning into our fifth and seventh grade curriculum. So for those of you guys who don't know, who didn't watch like any of the prior videos, I selected for my rising fifth grader Beyond the Page for the science, and I purposely did 8 to 10 instead of 9 to 11 just because I like the subject matter a little bit more in the grade range 8 to 10. So for the past couple weeks, we've been doing Beyond the Page. I haven't been completely like satisfied with it. I think that that's a video for like a whole nother day though. But I know how to use it and how to integrate it to make it into what I want it to be. So for those of you guys who don't know as well, what we were using for his fourth grade year, it was elemental science. So elemental science, but we were using the logic stage one. Sorry for the noise in the background. They're putting away dishes. They're doing the dishes and putting them away. So elemental science for the logic stage. I didn't get the grammar stage because we were doing it family style. Well, there's 2 units, subunits in there that we didn't get to. And one of them is botany. It is the study of plants. And guess what the very first unit is from Beyond the Page? It is botany, the study of plants, So I am going to be merging the two along with other books. So I'm going to take you guys with me. We're going to plan it out a little bit and see where it goes. Okay, guys, so let's get straight into the planning. So one of the first things I have to know when I'm trying to figure out like what in the world I'm going to do. So I kind of like pulled out, and I'm going to go through all these books, but I kind of pulled out books that I want us to use for this biology unit, the plant section. Okay, so I kind of pulled them out. So I have them all front and center, but since this is going to be my spine, I have to kind of deal with this first. So one of the first things that I have to ask is, how long is this particular unit going to be? And this is 5 weeks. So I'm going a little bit out of sequence. So when you see like week 7 up there, week 6, that's because when we were getting ready to do this, it was the beginning of winter. And I was like, that was a really stupid time to like start, I felt, a botany unit, because you can't have, like, you don't have access to flowers or leaves or anything else that they may need from us. You know what I mean? Like you do in the springtime. So I was like, we're going to hold off on it until a later date. So, so we're here at the later date. As I went through the Beyond the Page, I went through the entire, this unit 1, dirt and plants, and I decided to skip it. There may be like an activity here or two that I can pull from, but for the most part, I'm not going to be using it. As a matter of fact, I may be returning it. But again, that's a conversation. That will be a video for another day if you guys are interested. There's nothing wrong with it, but my main complaint is lack of context and lack of explicit instruction with it. It lacks depth at times, And that's all I'm going to say. I think it's a really great curriculum, but for me, I'm not a sciencey person. I'm not a math person. So when it comes to science and math, I need it to be all encompassing. I need context to be there. I need depth. I need explicit instruction. I need scaffolding. I need all that stuff. Some of you guys, science comes really naturally to you. Then some of my qualms that I have with it may not be your issues, So I just wanted to say that because different strokes for different folks, right? Okay, so I'm going, and by the way, elemental science, I had to step away from it for a little bit because it can get a little monotonous, but I know where I went wrong last year. But again, that's a video for like a different day. I have to stay focused. Coming back to this though feels like a warm hug. It really honestly does. And it's very, insular, like in what am I trying to say? It's really self-contained, where there really isn't as much outside that you have to pull from, and it doesn't really have you going into this link, or anything like that, which a lot of moving Beyond the Page does. And again, that's not like a bad thing, but for every single lesson, it can get a little bit tedious, This one doesn't, which I kind of like because I can find the videos on my own of things that are really tailored and specific to my kids' likes, Okay, so let's get to the actual planning because my gosh, I can just keep on talking and we can be doing all this. Okay, one thing to know, and I wasn't sure if I mentioned this already. I lost track of all the things I'm talking about. If you get the digital download for it, because you can get the hard copy or the digital download, make sure that you're aware that your name and address is at the bottom. So I went through, because I know I'm going to be sharing this on Instagram and I don't want to forget and have my address and my name all splattered all about, you know what I mean? So just know that if you get the digital copy, it does like mark it down at the bottom, you know? Okay, so one of the first things I have to look at is how long is this particular unit that we're going to be doing? Because remember, this is a bunch of units under the biology umbrella, which is really cool because you can kind of spice it and dice it any which way that you want to. You know what I mean? Okay, plants. It's 5 weeks. So this is a 5-week one. I'm not really concerned with what I'm going to do the next week and the next week and the next week. Right now, I'm just having tunnel focus and I'm just going to focus on what I want to do this next week. As I start to plan it out, I may realize, oh, we can actually do 2 lessons this week. But for right now, I'm just going to take a look at the lesson, see what it all entails, see the stuff that I want to add to it, and then see if that is enough for this week. And then if it is, then great. Then my planning for the week is done. And then I will take next week when next week comes, you know, and next week may be a different story. I may not have outside books that I want to implement, you know, and so maybe I do 2 lessons that week, you know. Okay, so plants. So let's get through it because we're going to look at it together. Because this is the beginning of the unit, it always starts off with vocabulary. And it doesn't cover this right off the bat. You cover like maybe like 4 of them or 3 of them for every lesson. And then you fill this in, or the student, because this is a student book. They fill it in as they learn it. You know what I mean? So right off the bat, we're not all of a sudden covering 17 vocabulary and definitions. You know what I mean? So right off the bat, we're not doing that. Okay, but this is the first lesson. Oops, sorry. And it tells you what you're going to need. So we're going to be growing mold. We're going to need a microscope. We're going to need an onion skin and a celery stalk and 2 slides. Okay. Then we are going to be reading from Usborne. It's a science encyclopedia, pages 284 to 285. And then we have some optional readings. I hardly ever do the optional readings because they're all from reference style books, and we're not reference style book type of people. I don't mind doing a 2-page spread here. Great. I don't mind that. For my additional readings, that's not our jam, right? So instead, I don't follow that. And instead, I have alternative books that we're going to be reading from. Okay. So that's the way that I do it. But if you guys are the reference book style of people, then that's really great, because this KSE is the Kingfisher Science Encyclopedia. And then I forgot what DKEN is. DK, like DK as in like the book franchise. What does DK even stand for? DK Books. Like, what does that even stand for? I don't know, but I'm sure that's one of them. Okay. So here's your vocabulary: fungi, spores, and yeast. So in your teacher's guide, this is where you're going to have that. Hold on. Let me just grab, what did I do with it? Am I going crazy? What did I do with the teacher's guide? Oh, it's over here. All right. So if you look at the teacher's guide, all the definitions are right here. You see what I mean about it being just self-contained? All the definitions are in here with more information. Like, it's going to give you more information. So those are the definitions. And it has like a recommended schedule breakdown. Again, I can do like a flip through if you guys want and stuff like later on. Okay. So vocabulary, and then there's no memory work this week, and then you have notebooking writing assignments. So your writing assignment: write a list of facts and outline or report. You're going to sketch anatomy of a fungus, and I'm going to show you what that looks like because they always provide that. You're not freehand drawing it, which I think is great because sometimes my kids aren't into freehand. They're not like those type of kids, you know. Although I still try to get them to do it every now and then. But sometimes they just want a template and they just want a label, you know? And so that it gives you that. It gives you a template that you can just label. So label the following. You have to label these parts of a fungus. And then you have dates to enter on your timeline if you want to. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Our working timeline that we're working on as a family is our history timeline. And so for really, really big events in science, we will add that. But for the most part, I'm not adding in Miles Joseph Berkeley, the first first used the word mycology. You know, like that's not big enough for us to put like on our timeline, because then it will just get congested with a bunch of facts, right? So anyway, so that's it. You see how self-contained this is? Like this is the page that we're doing and stuff. We know that we're gonna do a microscope activity. We have our readings, bam, that's what we're reading. We're doing a list of facts, an outline, or a report, and we're gonna sketch a fungus, right? So here's a sketch, and it's already provided, and then they just have to label it. Where are they getting the information to label it from? From that encyclopedia that they have them read. So in this Usborne Science Encyclopedia, pages 284 to 285, it's gonna be in there. So that's where they're getting that from. Okay, so they have that. And then here's the experiment. So mold, and it gives you like a little intro, and it's telling you that it's not a plant, it's not an animal, it's part of the fungi kingdom, it doesn't contain chlorophyll, it doesn't produce its own food from light, and it's telling you all that. And then you have a hypothesis, you're gonna list your materials, and then it tells you the instructions, like you're gonna do this, this, and this, you're gonna record your findings over here, and what are the results, and what are the conclusions. And that's it. Sorry. And then here's the writing assignment. So here are some questions that you can add to it if you want. You don't have to use these questions. You can come up with your own questions. You can have them narrate. You can have them do like whatever, you know, but this is, I feel like, an added bonus to it. So what are fungi? Explain the structure of a fungus. What are molds and mildews and where are they found? Where do fungi get their food? Are fungi harmful or helpful? Explain why or why not. So you can split this up among the week, have them answer 2 questions a day if you want to. And now that, I think, is it. Yeah, that's it. And then it goes into the next activity. Okay. So for this week, after seeing what's required and stuff, and because we're trying to go a little bit lighter this week, I'm just doing one lesson a week, because I want to include other books, you know? So again, there may be other weeks where I get to week 7 and I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a little short for us because I don't really have any other books to like implement to go along with it or anything like that. So this week we might actually be able to get 2 lessons in. So maybe we do week 7 and we do like week 8, you know what I mean? And maybe we might have some carryover into the next week. But for this week, I do have things that I want to use. And there's going to be quite a bit of extra reading in addition to this. So we're sticking with 1 lesson a week for this week. Okay. So I forgot, I don't have my planning notebook. Hold on, let me go grab it. Okay, so here is my planner. And by the way, you'll notice I'm only talking about my youngest, my 4th grader. I'm only talking about Lincoln. My oldest does Conceptual Academy and he does that all on his own. So when I'm planning, I really only have to plan Lincoln's. He has his own track that he's doing. So anyway, all right, so we have a fresh sheet. And as I figure everything out, I'm going to be recording it. I keep hitting the camera. I'm sorry, guys. I keep shaking and all that stuff. So anyway, so I've looked through this. I have an idea. I only want to do 1 lesson. I know like what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that down in my planner. Okay, so I went ahead and when I go into my planner, I just want to be able to get like a quick snapshot just in case I forget everything I already completely just read, right? I know that we're going to be using elemental science. I know we're going to be focusing on mold, fungus, and chlorophyll. I know that we're going to do a mold experiment. And I want to write that down because not every time are we going to be doing an experiment. Sometimes there is a better activity that I may have found on Pinterest or that I knew in the back of my head and I kept that info there and I'm like, oh, but I remember this thing and I'd rather do that instead. Or maybe I find an experiment from beyond the page and I'm like, you know what? I want to do this one from beyond the page, right? Because I have the curriculum right now, right? And then I just have like a quick recap. We're going to be reading. He's either going to do a list of facts or an outline and then discussion questions. And then that's it. But this isn't all of my science. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the other things that I have. So I'm going to put elemental science away. I have the Burgess Bird Book. We usually start our day just reading this. So I want to write it down because I don't want to forget it. I mean, you don't know. Once the work week comes in, everything goes out the door. Sometimes I don't even know my own name. Okay, so the Burgess Bird Book for children. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that down. Okay, so now that's been written down. Okay, so I have that down. I'm going to put that off to the side. That's really easy. Like literally, it's just, I'm just reading one tiny story every time. So let's say we start here. I just read it until we get to the next section. But if any of you guys know of an audio for it, please let me know, because by the time I do this in the afternoon, my voice is usually tired, you know? And I think when I looked, there wasn't one. But I'm going to double check just to make sure, you know? But anyway, so then we have that. Then the next part is we're going to be reading from the Charles Kovacs, and this is a Waldorf like style book, but I really like it. I actually bought, I think, almost every single book that he has because we started using it for history, and I just love it. I actually read it to my kids for bedtime, so that's how much we like the narrative aspect of this, you know? So with him, I'm going to be reading one section a day. I'm not going to try to line this up with what we're learning about. So like, for instance, if right now it's mold, right? Fungi. I'm not going to jump to chapter 3 just because we're doing fungi right now. I'm just going to keep on, but maybe we will. So see, so the next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to go according, I'm going to look and see how many of these that I want to read. You know what I mean? So that's the next thing that I'm going to figure out. So this is definitely one. So I think, and I love that the chapters are so short, you know? So let's go to chapter 1. So that, we can definitely do that. The dandelion for sure. And then fungi. And I think that's where we're going to stop. So hold on. I'm just going to get some markers in here. These little things in here. These things come in so handy. You know, you can go to the dollar store and you can get like a whole slew of these like things. I didn't even know. I haven't been to the dollar store in like forever. It's gonna bother me if it's not straight. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, the $1.25 store. Okay, and you can get like a whole bunch of them. So what I like to do is I usually go my starting and end point, and then I move it. You know, because just in case I don't get to there. And that's it. That's all I want to read that week. That's it. Little baby steps. I'm not trying to read the whole entire book in 1 week. You know, that's it. So that is what I'm going to read. So I'm going to mark that down in my book. Okay, so that's done. That's written down. I'm going to move that off to the side. The next book is this one, this First Book of Plants by Alice Dickinson. I've had this forever. Let me tell you, I've probably had this at least 5 years. And I went on to Amazon just to see if there was like an audio version of it, because anytime I can get like an audio book for it, that's going to be my jam. My voice just gets so tired by the time the afternoon comes around, and there wasn't. But while I was on Amazon, you know how sometimes it gives you, book recommendations based off of like the book that you're looking at. Well, Sabbath Mood, I guess, does a whole botany unit revolving around this because it came up under one of the recommended books. It says customers who usually buy this book also buy Sabbath Mood Science, Sabbath Mood Homeschool. I've never used the curriculum from them, so I apologize if I'm messing up the name. But Sabbath Mood, I think, is a Charlotte Mason, I think. But when I saw that, I went online to go and check it out to see if it's something that would interest me. And I think it looks good, but it's not really like what I'm particularly looking for. So just as an FYI, for those of you guys who are also liking this book or whatever, you may want to check that out because she has an entire botany unit like revolving around this, you know? So anyway, so now I'm going to go through this book and I'm going to see how much I want to read and what I want to read and how I want to approach it. Because with these other two books, we're just reading it for the pleasure. So the Burgess Bird book for children, just for pleasure. Botany book, just for pleasure. That's how good his writing style is and the narrative flow from it, just for pleasure, okay? But this one, I don't want to do it just for pleasure. This one, I want us to actually be doing something with it, you know? So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to take a look at what we're going to read and see if any ideas come to mind, see how I want to approach it, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I went ahead and I looked through, and I think I just want to take this very first one in just a bite-sized chunk, you know? And we're definitely going to finish. This is not a thick book. It's not a thick book, but I think this one is best taken in little chunks, and I really like it. I really like it. But again, I think just best taken in small chunks. So what did I say? I said that this unit has 5 lessons. This biology unit has 5 lessons, or 5 weeks, I should say, 5 weeks. And I think that we're going to do 5 weeks worth of these because I think that there's just way there's just so much cool stuff to learn about them, you know? And in the 5 weeks, we would have finished this book. So I think that that pacing is going to go really well. I think in the 5 weeks, we would have finished the Charles Kovacs one. We would have finished First Book of Plants. And those are going to be, in addition to science, in addition to elemental science, these are going to be our other 2 core books. So anyway, so I have that. I wrote it down, and then the final, that's not the final thing. I actually have a few more things. Let's continue on. So a weed is a flower, and I'm actually going to run to the printer because I just created something for it just to go along with it, like super quick. So hold on. Okay. So this is what I have, for this book. This is just a picture book. Just a picture book. And I created some stuff. We're going to cut this out. This is a series of questions. He's going to read this independently. So he'll read this independently. I'm going to cut this out, put this in his notebook. He's going to lift the flap to like answer the questions behind it. And then I have, he's going to do a little bit of independent research, like online, the year and his accomplishments, some of his main accomplishments and achievements. And then there's a quote that he says, I'm trying to find it. Let's see. And so I can use this any way that I want to, but there's one in particular. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, a weed is a flower growing in the wrong place. I think that's such a beautiful quote. So the way that I'm going to use this, let's see how he feels. Maybe he's going to want to color it in. If he doesn't want to color it in, then I have this one. And then we can just do copy work. That's it. I'm going to just use this for the dictation and copy work off of that quote, you know? And then I have this over here, which is while he's doing his research, he's going to find and write down some interesting facts. We're going to cut it out and then we glue it over here and he's going to do that. And then according to the book, what type of items can be made from peanuts? And then this is another like interactive notebook type stuff, you know? So anyway, so I did that and I'll cut that out and glue it into his notebook once I know which one he wants to do, you know? So I wrote that down in here. A weed is a flower, work pages, and find a video. So this will be one school day's worth of science, you know? So he's going to read this book independently. He'll do all the things on his own. And so he'll do that independently. And then the final thing, yes, there is more. This is why I said elemental science is only going to be a 1 day, not a 1 day, a 1 lesson a week. Because you remember how I said, like, I may want to do 2 lessons that week. Not this week, because this week I just have a little bit more that I'm integrating into and stuff. So this week, nope, we're sticking with just 1 lesson. But it's not that bad, right? Right? Like, it's not that bad. It's just a lot of, like, reading, and that mainly falls on me, except for the picture book that he's going to be doing independently on his own, you know? But I also have this one. So a kid's herb book for children of all ages. And I've had this for like several years. There was a mom at the co-op who used this as a spine for the class that she was teaching. Gosh, this was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I really liked the stuff that she was doing. So this is one that we're not reading this cover to cover. I'm going to just be pulling from it and we're going to be going through it from the beginning. So we'll go through it from the very beginning. And we'll pull from it what we want to pull from it. If we want to do any of these activities, we can do any of the activities. But there's story times, there's songs, there's lessons to be learned from all the herbs, things to learn. Like here's like an herb song and stuff. So we'll just be pulling from this one. So anyway, so I'm going to go and I'm going to write that down here in my planner. Okay, so I was going through and I was like flipping through it just to like see, so maybe I get like some ideas, because we are, and if he doesn't want to do any of these, I'm actually not going to make them. I just want us to learn together. I have spines for our main core reading, which is elemental science and this one, right? So this, it matters to me like what he takes away from it, right? For elemental science and for this one, right? For all the other ones, I just want us to like cozy up and learn about things without an expectation of a heavy output. Does that make sense? But as I was going through this, I did see this one, flora or fauna. Did I say that right? Fauna? I think I did, right? Flora or fauna. I do want him to get used to like the terminology and the vocabulary. So I'm going to do a quick sort for him to do. So I'm going to create one, just a quick sort for flora or fauna, just because I wanted to be familiar with that terminology, because that's not, again, the world of botany and plants. We are more crafty people versus more of the science aspect of it and stuff. And so I want us to focus more on the science aspect of it. Does that make sense? And so I want us to get strong with our terminology, like a thorough conceptual understanding of botany. You know, I really want to lay the foundation, the groundwork. Does he know parts of a plant, parts of a flower? The basics on how photosynthesis works. Yes, like he gets all that, but I want him to have a deeper conceptual understanding of things, you know, starting with using the proper terminology and stuff. So when I came across that, well, this is really great, because I'm going to have him just do like a quick sort, I think is what I'm going to do, you know? Yeah. And so I think that this is going to provide a lot of opportunity for like deep dives, because you know what else I just saw? What is an herb? What is a weed? Like, this would be really cool if I tied this into like a YouTube video of some sort, and then we can take a look at that and then we can go to our local garden center too and see if we can find any of these so we can see them in real life, like what they look like. Like, I'm telling you, this is how I get like ideas sometimes, and I'm like, oh, because that would be like really cool. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is not a book that I intend on using for the entire school year. While we're studying botany, this is a book that we're going to be using, you know? So if we don't finish it at the end of the 5 weeks, then we don't finish it at the end of the 5 weeks, but we're going to get some good use out of it. So anyway, did I write that down? I wrote whatever we want to do, but now I have to put in that we're going to do I'm going to put in flora v fauna, so I can remember. So anyway, so there you go. And this, my friends, is how I plan out science. I don't know if this was useful to you guys, but this is how my brain works. So this is me planning out the week. I am not that organized to be doing it for an entire month in advance, you know, but I will say with elemental science, it's not hard to plan it out. Like, that's my spine, that's my base. And then I'm just taking that and I'm expanding it, you know? The final thing I do have to do is I have to figure out what I'm going to do on what day. So I'm going to go do that, and then I will show you guys that. But if you have like a good spine, which elemental science, I'm telling you, I keep coming back to it. And I'm trying really hard to think of why I moved like in the first place from elemental science, you know? I think I remember why. I moved from it because if you're only using elemental science, it can get very dry. It can get very repetitive and mundane and stuff, you know? And instead of following it to a T, which is what I was doing, I should have allowed myself to do what I always do. And that is doing all these other things in here. You know what I mean? All my other like things that I use, and like spicing and dicing and adding things to it. And I didn't do it, which is so very unlike me, you know? But I feel myself coming back. For those of you guys who don't follow me on Instagram, I just talked about experiencing homeschool burnout, which is a real thing. And I'm usually really good at getting myself like out of it, but this time I was like not, but I feel myself coming back now. I'm coming back. I feel myself like coming back. Did I share this with you guys? This is a little thing from like the dollar store. Like, and you get like 4 of these in a pack. Like, come on, for $1.25, all these little, are they the cutest? I mean, they're not the cutest. They make other like Post-it stamps that are like so cute, like little things. But for $1.25, I like the colors. It's not bad, right? All right, I gotta focus, guys. All right, let me figure out how I want to plan it out for the week. Okay, so I'm done. So elemental science, we're doing on Monday. We're going to be doing it on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we're doing the first book of plants and a kid's herb book. And then on Friday, just George Washington Carver, the picture book and stuff. And then I put an L for the kid that I'm doing this with, specifically, you know. And there you go, guys. Now we've officially planned out science. And this is what I do every single week. And I enjoy it. I think that if I were to do this like every single month, I would forget a lot of times and I'd still find myself reviewing anyway, like the week before. I think there's a lot of value in doing it in bulk though, and being cohesive like that and doing it in larger spurts. Like for history, I have seen a total benefit in being more cohesive with history and doing it in big like swaps of time and stuff. But for science, this works for me. I don't think I'd be able to do it in big swaths of time for like science. I just think as long as you have a good spine, which we do, which is elemental science, I think that it goes just, I think that's perfectly fine. Every week I just need to just figure out like what I'm going to be implementing with it. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing after I'm done with the plants unit though, whether I do another elemental science like unit, or whether we do another different one within elemental science, or whether we do something else entirely different. I have no idea. Right now, my brain can only focus on this for the next 5 weeks, and then I'll take it at that time what I plan on doing. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this helped. Subscribe if you want to see more nutty videos. I don't know how much help I actually am, but if it's helpful and you enjoy it, please consider subscribing. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.